Welcome students! Class is in session. In this video, we are going to be looking at some practical DSE Paper 1 examples with common questions that require the use of identifying vocabulary, and I'll be giving you some hints on how to guess the answer. Unseen vocabularies, in other words, guessing words you've never seen before. Now, why is that an important skill? Well, the first thing that comes to mind is it's great for reading comprehension. In order to fully understand a piece of article, you really need to know about 80 to 90% of the vocabulary. Well, what about the other 10 to 20%, you may ask? Well, that's where this skill comes in handy. But let's be honest, the real reason why we need this skill is so we can get a higher mark on our exams. So let's go. Before we go on, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video with your classmates. If you do that for me, I'll share a secret with you. Have you done it already? Because the secret is... I'm giving out this 500 vocabulary list for free. I've already separated it into different themes like workplace communication, social issues, sports, pop culture, debating, and I even have some bonus argument phrases too. All you have to do to get this free vocabulary list is just follow 4 easy steps. Step 1. Post share this to your IG story. Step 2. Tag 3 friends in the comment section. Step 3. Follow my IG page. And step 4. DM me a screenshot of the first 3 steps completed. That's it. Alright, here we are. How to guess the meaning of unfamiliar vocabs. Well, I know what you must be thinking. Well, this presentation is kind of messy. Well, we kind of ran out of budget, so this is all we could afford. But check out this sweet, look at that, graphic design, special effects. See, it's not bad. Alright, so basically there are roughly 4 types of questions that are very common in the Paper 1 DSE exam. The first type of question is, what is the tone or attitude of the writer in the quote? So in this example, the quote is, "It was a dazzling spectacle, a life-size army of painted clay soldiers buried to guard an emperor's tomb. Now, archaeologists and artists, armed with the latest tools and techniques, are bringing that ancient vision back to life." What is the tone in paragraph 1? So we have A, B, C, D, humorous, excited, critical, and cautious. So the first thing we want to do is, so dazzling, right? Dazzling spectacle. What does dazzling mean? Dazzling basically means something beautiful or impressive. And what about spectacle? Well, spectacle is something that is probably entertaining, like an entertaining display or show. And now that we have these 2 keywords identified, we can kind of eliminate some of the more obvious choices that won't be right for this context. So, for example, critical and cautious, these don't seem to go well with an impressive display. Now we're down to 2 options, right? So we're just doing a process of elimination. So we have humorous and excited. Now humorous means funny, right? So let's try to look for some words that mean funny. Well, nothing seems to be funny. So I think it's safe to say that humorous is not the answer we're looking for. But just to be sure, let's kind of double check our answer with excited, right? When we put it into the context, does it kind of make sense? Like when we're watching a dazzling spectacle, right? An entertaining show. I think it's fair to say that we could be excited to see something like that. I think these 2 are quite correlated, and that would be the answer we would go for. Now let's look at another question. Okay, another common question is finding a word in a certain paragraph that means the same thing. So basically, it's asking for a synonym. So let's take a look at this one. Germany is the pioneer when it comes to new and interesting board games, says D. It has a prestigious award for creativity called the Spiel des Jahres. Find a word in paragraph 10 that means originality. Okay, so first thing we do is identify the part of speech. So what does part of speech mean? Is it a noun? Is it an adjective, verb, adverb, etc.? Right? Because we know the synonym will have to be the same part of speech. So in this case, originality is a noun. So when we're looking for a synonym, we're also looking for a noun. Now let's take a look at the passage. In this case, I would see there are around maybe three high-risk areas or potential words that you may not know. First one being pioneer. The second one, prestigious, and creativity, right? So I think this passage has around, maybe let's just say it has three words that are a bit more difficult. So assuming you don't know these keywords, the next step is for you to plug originality into those words and try to replace them in the sentence. So after you do that, you need to kind of read them out loud. So for example, if we replace pioneer with originality, Germany is the originality when it comes to new and interesting board games. That doesn't sound right. Assuming you still have no clue after you substitute each word into those potential words, then you kind of want to look at the suffix of the word. So in this case, ity, and then we look at another ity word, creativity, with ity. So this is actually a pretty big hint. And in this case, originality does mean creativity. So that one was quite a relatively short paragraph to find a synonym. But what about something harder, like this one, paragraph 7, right? Look how long that is. And here we need to find a word which means a major disaster. So for this question, we're going to look at same thing, part of speech, and grammar is going to take a more prominent and important role for this type of question in order to find the answer. It's very similar to the previous one, but let's look at some options for major disaster first. So major disaster, we can kind of break this down. Major, an adjective, and then disaster being a noun. And now let's look at some a bit more difficult words. This is a bit of a long paragraph, so I'm not going to read the whole thing. So in this passage, there's definitely a lot more difficult words. For example, we have grimmer, admonitory, reluctant, extinction, equivocate. There's quite a bit, like delusions, apocalypse. So we kind of use the same method as before. We want to plug in a major disaster. And notice here, it's not just major disaster, right? As the word, it's a phrase. So a major disaster. So we have to plug this phrase into, let's put it in some potential keywords. For example, how about something from here, maybe here. So the protagonist's final defeat and failure is absolutely crucial to the major disaster nature of the classic adult dystopia. Well, we know it doesn't make sense if it's to the major disaster, right? So this is where the grammar part kicks in. When you have a phrase, we have to make sure the grammar matches. So we know this isn't the answer. Okay, and then we can kind of put it in some other areas too, because authors of children's fictions are a major disaster to depict the extinction of hope within their stories. Grammatically, not bad, but does it really make sense? Does the context really make sense? Authors of children's fictions are a major disaster. So are they saying it's a very difficult to depict the extinction of hope within the stories? I mean, it doesn't sound like that's the best use of this phrase. So how about, let's try to put a major disaster in this one, catastrophe. Yes, our errors and delusions may lead to a major disaster, but if, as usually happens in dystopian novels for children, a new, better way of life can be assembled from the ruins, would the apocalypse really be such a bad thing? Okay. Now, if we're lucky, we know apocalypse means the end of the world. And here may lead to a major disaster. That actually grammatically makes sense, and also it falls into, I think it falls into context because we have the end of the world here. And even if we don't have this, we have some stuff like runes that could be a hint, right? After a major disaster, there could be runes. So just to recap, plug this phrase into some potential vocab that you don't know, and then see if A, grammatically it works, and B, if it actually makes sense. And hopefully we know some neighboring vocabulary to give us some hints of where it could fall into place. All right, next common question is, let's see, how about this one? Number 55. What does the simile, like a wicked strain of the flu, 968 to 69, suggest about the book The White Mountains? Okay, so these questions are a bit more specific. At least we don't have to read the whole thing like the one we just did. Here we're looking at 68, so 5, 6, 7, 8. And here, a wicked strain of the flu. All right, so when you receive these questions, we have to take a look at the sentence above it and below it. So let's see. We're looking at the White Mountains, in which alien overlords install mind control caps on the heads of all those over the age of 13. Tore through my own 6th grade classroom like a wicked strain of the flu. Depending on the anxieties and preoccupations of its time. Okay. So this part is not really that important, but here we are actually describing about this book, The White Mountains. So just by looking at this, what are some characteristics of the flu? Well, the first thing that comes to mind is the flu kills many people. Many people die from the flu every year. The flu may cause people to get sick. One other characteristic of a flu is it's very contagious, highly contagious. And what I mean by that is, if you catch the flu, it's very easy to pass it on to the people beside you or close proximity. So which kind of characteristic matches the White Mountains? I mean, we're talking about a book here. Will reading a book really kill, a teenager? Probably not. So let's try the other characteristic. Spreading real quick or spreading real fast? Yeah, I think so. For example, if something is really good, then word of mouth, right? Kind of like the flu. Sometimes my saliva or someone infected, someone with the flu, their saliva attaches onto someone else, goes into their system. Same thing with this. Word of mouth. One student read this book, says it's good, tells another person, like, oh, I gotta read this too. And then next thing you know, everyone is reading the book. So in this case, what does the simile, like a wicked strain of the flu, suggest about the book? Well, it suggests it was really popular and it spread it really quick among the class and everyone wanted to read it. So just to recap, questions to find similes, we are kind of looking at the characteristics and then matching it to whatever we are describing, right? And then we want to put it inside and see if it makes sense. Like, is the book going to kill students? No. Could it be really popular and then, spread really quick? We have to use some kind of imagination and creativity. Whoops. Okay. And I was actually going to keep this video short, but for your sake, let's just do one more. Let's do this one. Okay, so the question is, and we always read the questions first, by the way. According to paragraph 1, dystopia for young readers is... So here we have multiple choice, A, B, C, D. And whenever we have a multiple choice, the best method is to use the process of elimination. For example, answer A is an imagined perfect world. Let's take a look. Dystopia is an imaginary place or condition in which everything is bad. Bad does not sound like a perfect world. Okay, so we can kind of cross A out. What about B? An unfamiliar, terrifying place. Okay, well, bad could be terrifying. The question would be, is it unfamiliar? Let's take a look. This has traditionally been characterized by an authoritarian government or some kind of oppressive control. For young readers, dystopia isn't a future to be averted. It is a version of what's already happening in the world they inhabit. Okay, it is a version of what's already happening in the world they inhabit. That means if it's already happening, that means it should be familiar. So unfamiliar, I would say no. That's wrong. Number C, a world similar to their own. Okay, well, we kind of went through that, right? Unfamiliar, but opposite of unfamiliar is similar, kind of like similar. So C could be a maybe, but whenever we do these, it's always, you know, the best answer. There could be two answers that seem right, but always choose the best answer. So let's take a look at D. A world to be avoided. Well, another word for avoided is averted. Dystopia is not a future to be avoided. So it's not D. And in this case, the answer would be C. Yay! If you made it to the end of this video, good job! I offer the most practical paper 2 writing course where I break down examples step by step and I give you the exact formula to write your own essay. I even give you practice essays where I mark it and give you feedback. So by the time you're done this course, your writing mark will be up 2 levels. Don't forget, I also offer a regular course for younger students preparing for their DSE, and I also have a course for students that are going to take their IELTS. I'll leave more information down in the links below, and just drop into my DMs or send me a message on Discord if you would like to know more information. See you in the next one.